And good morning, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives. It's Monday morning, July 14th, 2025, Bastille Day. And congratulations to all of our French friends and allies. Bastille Day. And wow. One day I want to learn how to sing that song, La Marseillaise, but haven't conquered it yet. One day I'll sing it along with you, though. And happy Bastille Day to everyone. Um, and July 14th, wow, we're past the prime of summer already. It seems like one of these days soon we're going to feel that fall breeze in the air. But right now it's hot, sticky, and I'd rather be inside. Well, today I have part four of my series, Undo the Coup. And my concentration today is to try to build on what were saying last week about the real problem is not proving, that Lee Harvey Oswald was part of a conspiracy. That has been the distraction that we've been laboring under. The problem is that the American people need to focus on the cover up. Just like so many crimes, showing who who covered them up shows who did it. And the people that investigated it are the same people that covered it up. So if we can undo the coup by undoing the cover up, we accomplish the same thing without having to distort out, whether it was LBJ or whether it was the CIA or the Israelis or the anybody else you want to name, Opus Dei. I mean, there's a lot of candidates out there for, but as long as we keep focusing on, you know, prior to the shooting, trying to prove a conspiracy there, we're missing the easy case. The easy case is the one I hope to present today. So let's get the show started, and thanks for being with me. Let's see. Hello, everybody. Again, I'm John O'Loughlin, and thanks for being with me. Undo the coup. That's my cry. That's my battle cry. The coup of November 22nd, 1963, of course, is the key to understanding our history and what's gone wrong during our lifetimes. And in order to undo it, we have to study it very carefully. So much study has gone into it already, but division remains in the JFK truth community. Of course, the first division is whether the mainstream media is correct in holding on to the single bullet theory, the magic bullet that we talked about last time, versus the rest of us. And then within the rest of us, unfortunately, there are two kind of polar ends. One focused on where's that book? Oh, here we go. Philip Nelson's book, LBJ, Mastermind of the JFK Assassination. And that, along with that, of course, goes Roger Stone and his book, which he calls The Man Who Killed Kennedy. He says The Man Who Killed Kennedy. He doesn't say conspiracy or anything like that. He's just saying it was LBJ. And, of course, the Mac Wallace story. Contrasting with that, we have Oliver Stone and a number of other people, but let's just focus on Oliver Stone. And through this book, JFK, the CIA, Vietnam, and the plot to assassinate John F. Kennedy. So there you go. You've got a conspiracy, a plot before the fact, as written by L. Fletcher Prouty, and the introduction by Oliver Stone, forward by Jesse Ventura. So many authors are they're doing their best to show that it was the CIA. Now I want to turn to a gentleman, MC Armstrong, over on X, and I want to get his take on this. MC Armstrong, glad to know you. I am new to your work, but I am looking forward to delving in. So let's read this post from July 9th. I'll put it up on the screen so you can read along. And this is all about Stone versus Stone, right? Is it Roger Stone's story or Oliver Stone's story? And do you see how that works into the divide and conquer mentality of those who are really pulling the puppet strings behind the scenes? So here we go. And share. MC Armstrong, Murder Most Foul, Oliver Stone, Roger Stone, and the Key Division in the JFK Assassination Research Community by MC Armstrong. In the JFK Assassination Research Community, the world of Oliver Stone points at the CIA, while the world of Roger Stone points at LBJ. Is it possible that the legendary director of JFK and the former Nixon aide are both right? Is it possible that both Stones have a point? In 2007, Rolling Stone, there's another Stone for you, published The Confession of Legendary CIA Agent and Watergate Burglar E. Howard Hunt. In Hunt's chain of command map of the JFK assassination, in which Hunt admitted playing a peripheral part, the spy placed LBJ at the top of the assassination command structure and populated the middle rung with CIA agents whom Hunt knew, like Cord Meyer, David Morales, and Bill Harvey. Why didn't the New York Times publish Hunt's confession? Perhaps America's paper of record didn't find the Hunt confession credible. After all, some in Oliver Stone's camp did not, and do not to this day see any link between LBJ and the JFK assassination. And in Gaslit America, yes, Gaslit America is a great way to put it, these skeptical researchers aren't alone in their disbelief. The mainstream media suppresses credible JFK researchers like Jefferson Morley and amplifies the purveyors of the official narrative. In spite of the 2025 publication of the Cliff Carter tape and the recently disclosed George Joanides files, the New York Times, CNN, and the Washington Post remain silent on the breaking news in the Kennedy case. To this day, the MSM still parrots the lone gunman magic bullet fiction of the Warren Commission. And so a question emerges: what would it take to heal the divide in the JFK community? Well, I recommend that you continue reading the entire article there, but I have a couple of comments I want to just toss in. First of all, the idea that they both could be right seems to be the most logical resolution, with two sides having held opposite positions on what is really a peripheral question, and that is who was at the top of the conspiracy. And keeping that question, it was, it's a candy mint, it's a breath mint, it's a conspiracy to force us into a Hegelian dialectic, and then from there into a mental state of cognitive dissonance, where you can actually try to believe or not believe either one of them at the same time. This is psychological control. Okay. My overview of this that I've been doing for like 8 years now tells me that yes, there are huge, going back to Edward Bernays and Walter Lippmann, the idea that the common people need to be led by elite minds. And that means that you get to tell stories instead of telling the truth. And in so doing, you are serving the best interests of humanity. If you can believe that, then you can have a job in the administration of any president. Pardon me a second. Jefferson Morley, an author, I have his book on James Jesus Angleton, which is very valuable information. However, I don't think that it goes as far as it needs to in exploring Angleton's role. I've looked at Angleton's role in a previous show of mine, A Minefields, which you can look in the archive on any of my channels. I can't remember which minefields it is, but you'll see it's captioned the Angleton coup. And that's one of the other aspects is it could have all just been run by Angleton for people that he's working for. And was that Israel, or was that the great synarchy of European aristocracy and old banking families? Who was it? Well, that's not what I'm trying to do today. I'm trying to move forward from here, from this guy, James Risen, the author of the book The Last Honest Man. Now, who was the last honest man? Who indeed? Well, it was, in fact, Senator Frank Church, also known as Senator Cathedral, pardon me. And, there's so many ways that this story of Frank Church ties into my father's story. And that, right after the House Select Committee on Assassinations finished and made its report, saying that it's more likely than not that there was a conspiracy, but they weren't able to sort it out well enough. That his cancer, I don't know if it came back. He had cancer as a young man and barely survived that. However, he was in remission until the HSCA hearings, and then he dies promptly of cancer after the finding. And that's where I want to go now into. I still got this up here. Yeah, hang on a second. Okay, now I'm going to the National Archives, and these are the findings of the committee, the Frank Church's committee. And I just want to read this finding C. I'm going to put this up for you too so you can see it. Because I think this is very, very important. Oops. Apologize. I'm not the best at technical things. Where is it? There it is. Okay, just so you can see that what I'm looking at, it's right on the internet. JFK assassination records, and these are the findings of the HSCA. Paragraph C, the committee believes, on the basis of the evidence available to it, that President John F. Kennedy was probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. The committee is unable to identify the other gunmen or the extent of the conspiracy. Interesting. I want to read this part. that introduces the concept of conspiracy. Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes once simply defined a conspiracy as, quote, a partnership in criminal purposes, unquote. That definition is adequate. Nevertheless, it may be helpful to set out a more precise definition. If two or more individuals agreed to take action to kill President Kennedy, and at least one of them took action in furtherance of the plan, and it resulted in President Kennedy's death, the president would have been assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. The committee recognizes, of course, that while the word conspiracy technically denotes only a partnership in criminal purposes, it also, in fact, connotes widely varying meanings to many people, and its use has vastly different societal implications, depending upon the sophistication, extent, and ultimate purpose of the partnership. For example, a conspiracy to assassinate a president might be a complex plot orchestrated by foreign political powers. It might be the scheme of a group of American citizens dissatisfied with particular government policies. It also might be the plan of two largely isolated individuals with no readily discernible motive. Conspiracies may easily range, therefore, from those with important implications for societal or governmental institutions to those with no major societal significance. All right. They're just going on to say that there was elements of the crime of conspiracy that they did not see in the evidence presented to them. Okay. Now, go back to the Warren Commission and J. Edgar Hoover and new President Lyndon B. Johnson sitting I believe in the Oval Office, having a chat about what to do to get this assassination behind us as fast as possible. You can see the video of it. It's on YouTube. So they plotted together, and the idea was, well, we've got to wrap this up real fast. We can't let it drag out. And they kind of agree that it'd be bad for America if people had doubts about the lone gunman story. It would be bad for America. It could cause public unrest. It could cause damage to the country if the lone gunman theory isn't accepted and wrapped up quickly. So I actually thought to myself, cui bono, who benefits the most from wrapping it up quickly? Well, it's the people behind the plot, right? So if LBJ was involved, then he benefits from wrapping it up quickly and blaming the patsy, Lee Harvey Oswald, you know? And if the CIA was involved, then they also benefit from wrapping it up quickly. And if the FBI was involved, wrap it up quickly. If the Pentagon was involved, if Israel was involved, any of these people or countries or entities that are the prime suspects benefit from wrapping it up quickly. I actually went to Grok this morning to follow up on this. I just asked the question, who besides Hoover believed a quick resolution was necessary? And I've got the answer here. I'm going to read it. Several key figures and entities beyond FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover believed a quick resolution to the investigation of President Kennedy's assassination was necessary, primarily to stabilize public confidence and prevent national or international unrest. Below are the main individuals and groups who shared this view based on historical records and analyses. Number one, President Lyndon B. Johnson. As the newly sworn-in president after Kennedy's assassination on November 22, 1963, Johnson was deeply concerned about the potential for public panic, international tensions, and political instability. He feared that speculation about a conspiracy, especially one involving foreign powers like the Soviet Union or Cuba, could escalate into a broader crisis, potentially even war. Johnson pushed for the creation of the Warren Commission, established November 29, 1963, to centralize the investigation and deliver a definitive report to calm public fears. His urgency for a quick resolution is documented in his communications with the aides and the commission, where he emphasized the need to avoid prolonged uncertainty. 2. The Warren Commission members and staff. Chief Justice Earl Warren, who chaired the President's Commission on the Assassination of President Kennedy, the Warren Commission, and other members such as Allen Dulles, former CIA director, and Gerald Ford, future president, understood the importance of a swift investigation. Warren himself expressed concerns about public unrest and the need to restore trust in government institutions. I have to stop there. Restore trust in government institutions. This was the height of trust in government institutions until that day. America trusted its government until that day. This assassination needed to have a thorough investigation in order to not destroy the trust of the American people in its institutions. All right, back to the response. The commission's tight timeline, issuing its report September 1964, reflected a shared belief among its members that a prompt conclusion was critical to maintaining national stability. That sounds like national security, doesn't it? Third, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, parentheses, initially. Although Robert F. Kennedy, the president's brother, was devastated by the assassination and later expressed private doubts about the lone gunman theory, he initially supported a rapid investigation to avoid speculation that could harm the country. As Attorney General, he had oversight over the FBI and was aware of the need to manage public perception, though his personal involvement in the investigation diminished over time due to grief and skepticism about the official narrative. So, as Attorney General, Robert F. Kennedy had oversight over the FBI and was aware of the need to, quote, manage public perception, unquote. Doesn't that sound just like Edward Bernays? Congressional leaders, key members of Congress, including those briefed on the assassination, supported a quick resolution to prevent political fallout. Oh, you don't want to lose your jobs, in other words, and public distrust. Figures like Senate Majority Leader Mike Mansfield and House Speaker John McCormick endorsed the formation of the Warren Commission to centralize the investigation and avoid conflicting reports from multiple congressional committees, which could have prolonged uncertainty. Fourth, the CIA leadership. The CIA, under Director John McCone, shared concerns about the geopolitical implications of the assassination, given Lee Harvey Oswald's known contacts with Soviet and Cuban officials. For example, his trip to Mexico City in 1963. The CIA was anxious to avoid speculation of foreign involvement that could inflame Cold War tensions. No, let's not inflame Cold War tensions. Let's just sweep everything under the rug. While the CIA's cooperation with the FBI and Warren Commission was limited in some respects, its leadership supported a swift conclusion to quell rumors of a communist conspiracy. Come on. Fifth, Dallas authorities and local law enforcement. Dallas police and local officials, who were under intense scrutiny for their handling of Oswald's arrest and subsequent murder by Jack Ruby on November 24, 1963, were eager to resolve the case quickly. The Dallas Police Department faced criticism for security lapses, and a rapid investigation helped shift focus away from local failures and toward a national resolution. And number 6, media and public opinion leaders. Major media outlets and influential commentators at the time also pressed for a quick resolution to restore public confidence. Editorials in newspapers like the New York Times and the Washington Post urged a thorough but expedited investigation to counter conspiracy theories and reassure the public. Wait a minute, to counter conspiracy theories? You mean you're projecting that there's going to be conspiracy theories if you don't wrap it up quickly? You're not saying that there was a conspiracy theory floated around already by the time that they convened the Warren Commission on November 29th? Well, to counter conspiracy theories and reassure the public. Reassure the public of what? Reassure the public that that no, you've lost the trust of the public. You've lost it. Prevent national division. Context and evidence. This is continuing on Grok, my Grok 3 version this morning. Johnson's roles, declassified phone conversations between Johnson and aides, such as his call with Richard Russell, reveal his insistence on a unified investigation to avoid, quote, wild speculation, unquote. Johnson reportedly told Earl Warren that a prolonged investigation could risk, quote, World War III if foreign involvement was suspected without evidence. Next, the Warren Commission timeline. The Commission's mandate to deliver a report within months reflects the shared urgency among its members and the administration. The report's release in September '64 was partly driven by the need to provide closure before the 1964 presidential election. Yeah, LBJ. The CIA concerns. Declassified documents from the 1990s released under the JFK Records Act show that the CIA was worried about Oswald's foreign contacts being misinterpreted. Really? Reinforcing the push for a quick lone gunman conclusion. And then the public mood. Polls from late 1963, such as those by Gallup, showed widespread public fear of a conspiracy, with many Americans initially suspecting Soviet or Cuban involvement. This heightened the pressure on officials to deliver a clear, reassuring narrative. Reassuring narrative. Man, that sure does sound like propaganda to me. All right, here is Grok's conclusion. Beyond J. Edgar Hoover, key figures like President Lyndon B. Johnson, Warren Commission members, Robert F. Kennedy initially, congressional leaders, CIA officials, Dallas authorities, and media influencers all believed a quick resolution to the JFK assassination was necessary to prevent public panic, political instability, and potential international crises. Their collective urgency shaped the scope and pace of the FBI's and Warren Commission's work, though it contributed to criticisms of the investigation's thoroughness. If you'd like me to search for specific documents, blah, 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 let me know. Thank you very much, Grok. And now, too big to fail. The conspiracy is too big to fail. That's why they needed a quick resolution, and that's why they won't uncover what really happened, because the great institutions, the media, the FBI, Congress, the presidency, all the military, all these great institutions played a part in covering up the actual conspiracy involving the shooters. You know, I mean, this book right here will walk you through that. JFK by Fletcher Prouty. We also have so many books. I mean, I've got a dozen of them right over here, in which you can see many reasons that the people that participated in creating the Warren Commission and then supporting it in the media, and then of course, you can never forget Dan Rather, flopping forward as if showing how the president got hit from behind, supposedly, and all of the stuff that we've been going through on the past 3 editions of Undo the Coup, so that there was a coup, but there also was a cover-up of the coup, and these important institutions that it's important we have faith in, all of them participated in the cover-up. So to undo the coup, we have to undo the cover-up of the coup. Now, I also want to bring to your attention the fact that this report that credit Jefferson Morley for, that Joanides, a CIA agent, was monitoring Lee Harvey Oswald for like 4 years before the assassination. So this blows a big hole in the CIA's denial that, that they were not involved. He was monitoring Oswald all the way. So, I've gone through this many times. How is it? It's not possible that this could have happened without the military intervening. It's not possible that this could happen in a major city with a professional police force without them intervening. It's not possible that the CIA wasn't tracking the events and could have intervened. And it's certainly not possible that President Lyndon Johnson wasn't at the top of the cover-up, because it's his duty to see to it that all the laws are enforced. And it was his duty to see to it that J. Edgar Hoover enforced the law. And J. Edgar Hoover had the duty to investigate and to find the real conspiracy. But he didn't do it. Why didn't he do it? Because Lyndon Johnson and he sat down on their leather couches and looked each other in the eye and said, we are going to cover this thing up. It's not in so many words, but we've got to do it. We've got to sell the public immediately on the lone gunman theory. So this is part 4 of Undo the Coup. My interest in it is this. My father was one of the people that would have known the people involved. And the extent to which he knew, we don't know for sure. But we do know that he worked in the Washington field office of the FBI from 1952 to 1962 and was assigned counterintelligence after completing his assignment of clearing 68,000 application files that were ostensibly for residence permits for people that J. Edgar Hoover thought had him review to vet these people, and the likelihood that those people were paperclip Nazis or worse is pretty high, according to my research. So my dad knew a lot about paperclip Nazis. My dad knew a lot about organized crime, and my dad knew a lot about the Soviets and what they were doing, because part of what he did was follow the Soviet, the KGB guys around the Washington area. But in 1962, he was asked and accepted to become a part of the new organization called SACSA in the Pentagon, where President Kennedy, after the Bay of Pigs, decided to park all the Special Operations Authority in this office, little known today, called SACSA. And I've done a series of, I think, 6 shows explaining who SACSA was and who what my dad's role in it was, and to show, you know, the importance of where my dad was in context of the Pentagon and the Vietnam War and the secret war in Laos, especially. So my dad knew a lot. And there came a time when he knew his days were numbered. And I believe that he knew enough to uncover the JFK coup. You know, I mean, he was a lawyer. He was one of the most valued agents of J. Edgar Hoover, and he was brilliant. So if they wanted to cover it up, you know, how many people did they get rid of? You know, I mean, we had Richard Belzer's book out the other day, and yeah, here it is, hit list, and then, you know, there's a whole lot more besides this that were gotten out of the way. You know, I mean, just Google it. People that died suspicious deaths after the Kennedy assassination. So this is what I think. I think that my dad was assassinated with weaponized cancer. And the story of this weaponized cancer, it ties in so many ways to all of the other work that we've been working on. This is coming out as well, you know. The investigator Jim Manning has endorsed Judith Vary Baker's reporting her story of her life, really, including the weaponization of cancer using the monkey viruses, the SV40, and radiation. And, you know, that is not unlikely. And then he also refers to the death of Jack Ruby by cancer as he thinks a likely candidate of quick cancer that would have come from the same batch that Judith Vary Baker was working on. You know, assuming that story is true. I have a hard time not believing Judith Vary Baker after so many people that I've known and I trust their work endorse it, including Jim Mars, including Chris Milligan. I think that, you know, we need to take advantage of her while we have her and learn more and get her under oath in this committee, this congressional committee. I can't just reject that, knowing that my dad, I believe, died of quick cancer. That is metastasized cancer that was brought about by some some means of getting it into him. So this is me. This is me trying to figure out what happened when I was barely 18 years old, and my dad comes down suddenly with cancer that's going to kill him in a few months. And he never talked about it. He couldn't say anything about his job at the Pentagon. He couldn't say anything about his job at the FBI. He was complete national security all his entire career. And the things that I've learned have been either something that my mother told me or just my own recollections or from a whole lot of really, really dogged research that I've been doing. Let me take some comments since we have a few minutes left. Roll back up to the top. Sierra is here. Hello, Brightmore. Just like the FBI is doubling down on the lone shooter in the near assassination of Trump. Interesting, yeah. Uh-huh. LBJ's home state, that's right. And yes, Europeans more. Yeah, I mean, well, they saw what happened with. Of course, they lived through the war. I mean, assassination is very common in war. Clean up on aisle 666. I like that. Manifesting Annie, thank you for these readings in my insight. You are so welcome. Thank you for saying that. They were being here, says they were planning on restoring the trust. They were writing the script for what to do after they destroyed the trust. Exactly. That's it. That's the way I see it. So if we were to then go back and examine, as Frank Church was trying to do, the cover up, then we'll show that this was a coup d'etat. That, I guess that's the other part of my battle cry is it wasn't just an assassination of a human being. It was a coup d'etat in which the masterminds and the people that went along with it took over the government, just as Edward Bernays would have said, the people are not competent to run the government. They've got to have elite minds, people that know more than they do to run it for them. And that's exactly what they wanted, was us to trust them. One of the worst things that ever happened to me when I was a young lawyer was I was interviewing for I accepted a job in this law firm, and things started going kind of funny, and I didn't like him at all. And this senior partner who I trusted said, I brought up some irregularities, and he just put his little fingers down on the desk and pushed them down and said, "Trust me." And I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have trusted him. But we are gullible people, humans, and just like George W. Bush said, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, and you can't fool me twice." Well, no, he screwed it up, didn't he? He means shame on me. So I don't want to be fooled again either, George. I mean, this business of LBJ and the association with Roger Stone, And then I have to associate Roger Stone with Donald Trump, and I have to associate Roger Stone and Donald Trump with Roy Cohn. And then from that point of view, that connects right back to Allen Dulles, which is, him pre-CIA or CIA days. So the coup, in a sense, the financial coup that's been going on since whenever you pick a date, 1871, 1913, 1917, 1933, you can pick a lot of 1945, a lot of dates in which you can say, this was a financial or a coup d'état by the banks or the banksters, the Federal Reserve or whatever. But this one with Kennedy is different. This is an actual assassination of the leader of the country, and that is that kind of assassination is practically by definition a coup d'état. So when you say, okay, I agree with you, John, there was a conspiracy to cover up the conspiracy, then how hard is it to get from there, I ask you, to say that the whole government, the Congress, the presidency, and eventually, as the justices got replaced, the Supreme Court, everybody that's sitting in these positions has been put in them through the facade of proper government. But if there were really proper government, Lyndon B. Johnson would have been thrown out of office immediately for his role in covering up the coup. I don't think Lyndon Johnson ever legitimately was the president. I think he had foreknowledge, if not planning. And I don't know how to sort out the Mac Wallace story, whether it's, is it believable or not? That's what I'm trying to avoid, fighting, stone versus stone and getting nowhere. But somehow, Lyndon B. Johnson should never have been the president because he participated in, going to the party with Murchison and all, and coming around and what he told to his mistress, about how, tomorrow all my problems will be solved. There's plenty of evidence to open a new investigation into the conspiracy to cover up the actual conspiracy to kill President Kennedy. Brightmore points out this interesting that coroner Michael Baden was brought in to assist with autopsies of JFK, George Floyd, and Jeff Epstein. That is interesting. Key Jason, hello. The assassination plot in Chicago the month before Dallas had names, and their tangents showed a complex plan. Right. And then there was the Miami one too. And there's witnesses, so that again, this was not the only conspiracy to kill the president. They tried a couple of times before. Now there you go. There's the mafia. Okay. Should we? I don't want to spend all of our attention trying to prove that the mafia was involved. I think it's very likely that they were involved. And I recently saw Jim Manning's more recent video on YouTube, which I recommend you watch. Its title of it is, Did Joe Kennedy's cause the deaths of his sons, John and Bobby? Did Joe Kennedy cause it? How did Joe Kennedy cause it? By getting Sam Giancana and a bundle of mafia money into JFK's campaign, and the support that he got from the mafia in Chicago and Illinois and in West Virginia and elsewhere, that this was how the election was won. So when Bobby Kennedy comes out gangbusters against the mafia, and John F. Kennedy won't support the mafia's regaining their money and their power in Cuba after the Castro Revolution and the failure of the Bay of Pigs and JFK, basically then after the Cuban Missile Crisis, makes a deal with Castro or makes a deal with Khrushchev. Are you kidding me? You know, he gave up. He gave up all of that mafia money from all those casinos. And not only that, but of course, the oil leases offshore from Cuba. He gave it all up. And, that's the kind of thing that you don't do to the mafia. So Joe Kennedy, by involving his mafia buddies in the JFK campaign, when his sons turn out to be trying to be good guys, trying to clean up America, then Giancana and the mafia have every motive to get rid of him. So there's another one, but are we now going to say, oh, it was the mafia? No, we can't do that because the investigation never really happened. J. Edgar Hoover should have investigated it, but instead he passed immediately an order saying that that Oswald was the man, was a lone shooter. That's the story. Don't worry about any further investigation. He said that to the FBI. See, he shut it down. And that was okay with LBJ. So in order to undo the disasters that we have suffered in this country since that day, the deaths in war, including Vietnam, 48,000 guys over on that wall at the mall, on the mall. And then all of the skullduggery that the CIA has been able to do, which Kennedy wanted to stop by putting it in to the hands of people at Saxa, like my father. All of that stuff would have been prevented. It would never happen if LBJ hadn't assumed the presidency. And then the rest of the influencers and institutions went along with it. So the cover-up is the coup. And the coup is ongoing right now, in real time, today. How do we fix it? We've got to educate the American people. The American people are the only hope. The American people have been so bamboozled that they don't want to try anymore. I understand that. But use the power of reason. Talk amongst other people and use your common sense, because common sense is far more powerful than a bunch of statistics. Common sense tells me that President Kennedy was killed as a result of a conspiracy, and that the people that investigated either made it happen on purpose or let it happen on purpose. And Toto absolutely agrees with me. Thank you, Toto. Yeah, it makes me angry that the people that we supposedly trusted were not there to investigate. They were there to preserve their own positions, their own institutions, their own interests, and to protect the people that they work for. That is what we have to do. We have to go back and do a real investigation and investigate people like Alan Dulles and investigate Earl Warren and investigate McCone and see the myriad connections among them that show that they thought they built a watertight case that would never be cracked. But it's us that have to do it. We have to do it. There is no alternative. If you let the country turn into an oligarchy, which is what they're doing, government on behalf of whoever makes the most campaign contributions or who is the most effective at blackmail, that kind of oligarchy. If we let our country slip into that, then the whole world slips into it. And it's back to being slaves. We're 99.9% of humanity. And of course, useless eaters can just be eliminated, can't they? We can't let it happen, folks. And the way out is right through the administration, through the reinvestigation of the assassination of President Kennedy way back in 1963. We have to do it. Let's do it. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll bring back the great David Cranmer Underdown for some more insights and interesting conversation with our good friend David. So I hope you can join me tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time right here at McDuff Lives. Bye-bye.